We're live. Welcome in, Knicks Nation. We're here. I'm CT with EJ. We're joined by the one and only, the legend, DA from The Athletic. How are we doing, David?
Man, I'm good. Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it. It's exciting times, man. It's the league's better when the Knicks are good. I don't care what nobody says. It's better when when the Knicks are good and the Bulls are good and the Lakers are good. The league's better off. So
Preach.
yeah. I'm happy that y'all are getting some success, man. I know it's been a minute.
It is. No, I appreciate it. You're doing amazing work with The Athletic,
Thank you.
Washington. And of course, with KP there, that's a team that some of our Knicks fans have been following closely. But yeah, what have you thought about the playoffs so far? I mean, it's been pretty
Oh man.
exciting. And I think the Knicks being good is just making it even better.
No, I think it's been great. I mean,
Mm.
I think Philly was the only sweep. I'm pretty sure. And that was
Yeah.
just no, Brooklyn just didn't have enough. They're at a different stage. Of their rebuild. They have some pieces, but they just don't have enough to compete with a really good team like Philly. Um, but everything else, even Atlanta, I know Atlanta went out to Boston, but I thought Atlanta really competed. For most of that series, they
Mm.
were right there with Boston and competed, and that's a good sign for Atlanta because there's been a lot of scuttlebutt about how they may have to trade Trey and break it up and start over, and I was just happy for them that they really did compete at a very high level over 6 games and really that could have easily gone seven. You know what I mean? Like that could have easily been a 7 game series. So that's what I love about the playoffs is that you get
Mm.
everybody's best game. I think with very few exceptions, everybody plays at an incredibly high level. The effort is amazing. The adjustments that the coaches make in real time, the best coaches make in real time are just incredible. Just to watch Spoelstra just kind of, man, it was something just watching him manipulate that series the way he did.
Oh,
It was incredible. And what Jimmy did was sensational and just otherworldly and, just lifted his team, just carried his team past the number one seed. I mean, I've been covering this league for 35 years. It's hard to remember a series where I was as shocked as I was by that one. You know, and for one guy, and all due respect to the other guys on the Heat, and a lot of them played good, but for Jimmy Butler to just will his team to beat the number one
mm.
seed, it's just amazing. It's incredible.
But that's as far as he goes, hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah, hopefully.
We'll see. We'll see.
Well, speaking of the playoffs, obviously here at Knicks Buzz, we're very excited about what took place, what transpired first round of the Knicks against
Yeah.
the Cavs, and I'm sure you have your thoughts. I guess my question for you, Da, would be this: what happened round one, per your estimation? Did the Knicks were they just that much better of a team, or did we overestimate who the Cavs were? What are your thoughts?
I think it was a couple of things. I think the Knicks played really well. They did a great job neutralizing both Allen and Mobley. I mean, those guys were really really important to the Cavaliers during the regular season. Their
Mm.
ability to make themselves available for lobs and for little, duck-ins and post-ups and things like that. Um, that really was key to Cleveland's 51 wins this year. It was a big part of it. And I thought the Knicks just did a remarkable job of just taking that away. Like now some of that is Mobley's game's got to evolve. He's got to be more comfortable stepping outside and shooting. That will come. But they just took Jared Allen out of the series. Like Mitchell Robinson took Jared Allen out of the series. And that is a big win for the Knicks, going into that. If you had said that at the beginning, I would have said, there's no way Jared Allen's going to, I mean, they might be even, you know what I mean? But Jared Allen's going to make his presence felt at some point, and he never really did. And that's really a compliment to what 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 Mitchell
Mm.
did and Hartenstein also, right? So they did a great job with that. But I think the playoffs also exposes you, right? Like if there's something you can't do, you're gonna get exposed. And Cleveland just can't shoot. They just don't shoot well enough to win against a team that knows what they're doing. I mean, they left Okoro open the whole series, dared him to shoot. They didn't really care if LeVert made some threes. Didn't care, like they just were going to keep it packed, keep the paint packed, and make those guys make 23s to beat them. And they never were able to really come close to that. So, Cleveland's going to have to address that in the offseason. I think they've got a lot. their top 4 guys are really good, but they need a 3-and-D guy desperately. Emphasis on the 3. And LeVert's good. I'm not saying he's not a bad player, but I just think they need somebody that's a little more dangerous that a team has to kind of respect more, because the Knicks obviously just didn't respect the 3 of the Cavaliers, no matter who was playing. They just take all the threes you want. We're not going to change what we're doing. So that was part of it too. And I think, Garland had struggled in the series. He didn't have his best series. And they just concentrated all of their focus and energy on Donovan and made him inefficient. It's not that they stopped him, but they just made him really inefficient. And that was kind of the downfall. And the lack of productivity on Cleveland's bench was kind of acute by the end of the series, you could see.
Yeah, David, when you got the other coach making rotation adjustments after game 1, it generally gives the other team a lot of confidence.
Sure.
And Ricky Rubio didn't have much to give. Lamar Stevens was taken out of the rotation. But it's funny, there's so many storylines with that series, with Okoro getting selected, I think 4th, and Obi Toppin falling to the Knicks that year. But Okoro not able to give them anything was a big factor in that series, and the big men, like you said. But on the other side, the Knicks didn't get much out of Julius Randle. Excellent first half of game 1. How much do you think that ankle was hurting him? How did you see his series?
Well, obviously, I think he was limited, right? After game 1, you could see even I was up there for 3 and 4, and I know people made a lot out of him getting benched. He just wasn't moving very well. I could understand why Thibs took him out. He just wasn't moving well. And Julius needs his quicks to really be the best version of himself. So, like to your point, Toppin was playing really well. I mean, came in and gave them some huge minutes off the bench. So, they're going to need Julius, I think, in the next round, because again, Miami's really good at taking things away. They're excellent at it, actually. And they're going to take something away. Now, I don't know what they prioritize. Is it Brunson? Is it RJ? I don't know. But they're going to take something away. And that means other people are going to have to make plays for New York to win. So Randall's got to be out there on the floor, for nothing else, just as a decoy, to draw attention and create space for the other guys on the opposite side. I will say this, that Milwaukee really bludgeoned Miami inside, and nothing's changed. Miami didn't get taller in the last 5 days. You know what I'm saying? So that's an area where the Knicks, I think, could have a real advantage in that series, because they made no pretense of it. They weren't even running plays. Giannis just threw lobs to Brook Lopez, and he just dunked on everybody. And that, again, that's there from New York too, and that's where Randle will be a big part of it, because he could really hurt them in the paint and inside and get to the foul line, allow the Knicks to set up their defense. So, they're going to need him, I think, to win the series.
It's really exciting to think about the fact that the New York Knicks are in the second round of the playoffs. I mean, if you especially think about where a lot of prognosticators had the Knicks early on at the very start of the preseason, sure. I think many pundits, and I think that we may have lost DA there, but for a second, but many prognosticators thought, CT, that the New York Knicks were a play-in game kind of a playing game kind of team. Many people had the Knicks in the 7th, maybe the 8th, 9th, 10th, competing for the play-in. And at the same time, and David Aldridge has been a legend dealing with the entire league and seeing many different teams. And I know that this is probably true from the national perspective, but the New York Knicks for probably the last 10-15 years were a laughing stock, whether it was James Dolan stories, the Charles Oakley debacle, Carmelo, whether or not he was going to be traded, and Phil Jackson. Is this a turning point, do you think, for the national basketball media with respect to how they view the Knicks, or do they view it more as an anomaly, or is this a new renaissance for the New York Knicks from a national perspective? What do you think?
I mean, look, I think, we're not very complicated creatures. You know what I mean? Like, Like we go to the places where the teams win a lot. That's not, there's no
Makes
secret
sense.
to this, right? Like, if you win a lot, we tend to show up and cover you more. Like that's how we do it. That's how we roll. It's every sport, right? I mean, the people follow the Yankees around for a reason, right? So yeah, I mean, David Stern used to always say, it's the most important thing is to keep the attention on the floor. Right? If people start talking about stuff happening off the floor, then we're in trouble. We're not doing what we should be doing, because we have to keep people paying attention to the great players we have on the court. Well, it's the same thing with the Knicks. If the on-court product isn't successful, then guess what? People are going to start talking about Dolan throwing people out of the arena. So you're going to write about something. So it's not complicated. So now you've got a team that's winning more and is well coached, and they seem to know what they're doing from a personnel standpoint. And we'll see if they can add another piece, in the next couple of off seasons, which seems like that's the plan. So, yeah, I mean, I think it definitely changes. I think the ability to get Brunson, I don't care how they got Brunson. I don't care if their whole Brunson family was a coach, was in the organization. You still have to get him to sign the paper. You know what I mean? Like, still got to sign. And so however they got him, they got him. It doesn't matter. They got him. So that changes things, because a player that talented, and I'm going to be perfectly honest with you guys, I had no idea Jalen Brunson was this good. Didn't know. Just did not know. Didn't see it.
I didn't know.
In Dallas, I thought
either.
he was a good player, maybe a really good player, but with Luka pounding the ball like he does in Dallas, and that's no disrespect, that's just how he's that kind of player. You couldn't really see what Jalen could do, and now you're getting to see what Jalen can really do, and it's been an eye opener for me, and for a lot of people, I think.
They say the playoffs are the greatest test, and last year, that's when I paid attention.
Yeah.
And when he really took over in the Western Conference, in the playoffs. But
Yeah.
I think he's just changed the entire culture, and we've been hearing people like Chuck talk about it could be the best free agent pickup in history. Is that going a little too far, or do you think?
Well, I think Kevin Durant going to the Warriors and LeBron going to the Heat was a little bit bigger, but this is a good one. Don't get me wrong. This is a really good one. But not quite on the level of those two leaving their respective teams and going where they went. But it has certainly, I think, changed. It's a tipping thing with the NBA. It's a very delicate thing with the NBA. Like, you can have a team of pretty good players, but you need great. Especially this time of year, to do anything and to make any kind of impact. And if you don't have a great player, you're not going to go very far in the postseason. You're not going to really make the postseason most of the time. So if Brunson's a great player, and the evidence is certainly leaning in that direction right now, other great players want to play with a great player, especially a point guard. So, that's a tipping point, certainly, for the franchise in terms of how other good players around the league, other star players around the league may perceive the Knicks going forward.
It's funny that you've been talking about how do we define Jalen Brunson and ascribing that word great to Jalen Brunson. And I'll say it too, I'll admit, I did not know he was this great of a player. I'm not going to even say good of a player, but he was this great of a player. I guess the question, and it's actually pretty laughable, because CT and I, on our last show, we talked about the rankings where Jalen Brunson was placed before. I believe some websites had him as low as 67 or 69. So here's the question for you. As we start to think about the Knicks, and not just for this offseason, but really, and this just playoff run, just for the foreseeable future, where do we start to rank a Jalen Brunson in terms of, upper echelon point guards in the league? Should we now start to think of him in that category, in the Stephs and the Dames, or is he a tier below or two tier belows? What do you think?
Look, first of all, rankings are insane and ridiculous, and you shouldn't spend your time worrying about what some group of people thinks about anybody in the NBA. You know what I mean?
We're Knicks fans. We're very sensitive.
This is one of the things I got into. I shouldn't say got into it. I had a very kind of animated discussion with CJ McCollum. I remember this distinctly a couple of years ago, when the rankings came out and Carmelo was 90th or whatever he was. I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
And everybody went nuts on Twitter and everything. And CJ went nuts. And I DM'd and I said, let me ask you, you guys have nothing but contempt for the media. You think we're all stupid. None of us played. We're not as physically gifted as you are. We don't know the game. We don't know how hard it is. Why do you care then when we think about anything? So, and I maintain that to this day. I don't know why people who actually play professional basketball for a living care what a bunch of writers think about rankings and stuff like that. It's absurd. I don't pat myself on the back about very much, but I can write. I know how to write. And therefore, you know who else, who I respect? Other people who I think can write really well. So if they tell me what you wrote is stupid and ill-informed, I'm going to take that to heart. But just some guy on Twitter says your story sucks. I don't have any respect for that. So I don't know why players would have respect for these sorts of things. But to answer your question, I just want to get off my chest. I would say Jalen certainly is, in the top 10 point guards in the league, to be sure. Is he fifth? Is he third? I don't know. He's in there somewhere. Is Steph a point guard? No, he just happens to play that position. But he's not. Steph isn't going to the Hall of Fame because of his great dimes. You know what I mean? Come on, let's be real now. So he plays the position because that's what he plays for them. But that doesn't, you know what I mean? So point guard means different things. But Jalen certainly is a very talented top tier point guard in the league. I don't think there's any question.
Connector, whatever it is. He's a scorer. He's a two guard in a point guard's body.
He's a really good basketball player.
And a leader. And a leader.
I will say, DA, there's people saying he's got better footwork than the elite big men that they've seen. Yeah, I think that's his point of difference, his footwork.
I would, I know what they're saying, and I see what they're saying because he does do a remarkable job of getting to his spots and then being able to shoot on balance. You know what I mean? Like this, no matter where he is, the angle, whatever it is, he still winds up pretty square. And that's a testament to really good footwork. I would agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, with this series coming up, EJ.
I guess just really quickly before CT talks about the series, I guess we would be remiss if we also didn't talk about Julius Randle's bounce back season. As opposed to 21-22, 22-23. What are your thoughts? What was it that allowed for Julius Randle to go from hero to villain to now having this, this renaissance again where he's beloved in most Knicks circles? What was the big difference?
Winning. Don't complicate this, guys. They're winning more. They're winning more, and everybody's happy when you win, and the food tastes better, and your partner looks cuter. It's not complicated. Like they're a better team than they were last year, in part because Jalen Brunson's there now, and RJ Barrett's taken kind of a leap or a step forward. I don't call it a leap. He's taken a step forward. And Hart's been terrific since, it's a great pickup for them, so, I think they're winning, and I don't think Julius Randle's any different a player than he was 2 years ago. It's just that 2 years ago they were winning. Last year they didn't win. This year they're winning again. So I think that's really all it is.
Yeah. Elite pickup, the Hart pickup, Leon Rose as well. Do you think he has some leg case for executive of the year?
Yes, I agree. I think he's done a really good job. It wasn't just Brunson, like I think a lot of people felt like, when they gave Barrett the extension, they were like, I'm not sure that's what they should do. You know what I mean? Like a lot of raised eyebrows around the league. And, I thought they would trade him. I really did. I thought that was going to be the way they got the next star in there, was to dangle Barrett, and they didn't. They kept him around. But yeah, if you talk about Brunson and bringing in Hart, and I think Hartenstein has been terrific for them, just the exact kind of backup center they need. Leon's had a great season. He and Wes and Scott Perry have done a great job building that roster out. And giving Thibs more weapons, to utilize at both ends of the floor. Yeah, I'm not, they're not the most creative offensive team I've ever seen, but that's okay. I mean, it's working. What they do works for them, so it's all right.
They actually had some of the worst losses in franchise history this season. So it's been a roller coaster.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, feels like 3 different seasons in one.
Yeah, but they're on the right side right now. That's the important thing.
Yeah, yeah. With that, I guess it's time for us to talk about this upcoming series that begins Sunday. Knicks Heat. For Knicks fans of a certain age, we have many memories of LJ and Alonzo Mourning and PJ Brown, and Charlie Ward, and unfortunately Patrick Ewing being ejected and suspended, and perhaps blowing our biggest chance at a championship. I guess we're going to talk about this upcoming series and then go back a little bit. What are your thoughts? What are you looking forward to? What are some of the things that you're most thinking about in terms of this upcoming Knicks Heat round 754? What do you think about it?
Well, the first thing I would be curious about is how is Miami going to try to guard Brunson, right? Who do they put on him? Who gets the first assignment? There'll be a bunch of different people. I know that, but I'm just wondering, how much time will they put Kyle Lowry on him, or will they try to hide Kyle somewhere else? You know what I mean? Like I don't know. And what Grimes' status is going to matter in that, right? So I'll be curious to see what their plan of attack is, because you're not going to put Butler on him. You don't want Butler to get in foul trouble. So who do you put on Brunson first and foremost to try to just make him, again, inefficient? That's not going to stop him, but you want to make him as inefficient as possible, right? So what will they do with that? I think, to me, from Miami standpoint, that's my main question I have going into the series, because Brunson's the engine. He's the guy that makes everything else work. And if you make him inefficient, I know the Knicks made a lot of threes in the Cleveland series. If I'm Miami, I'm gonna make them make a lot of threes again. You know what I mean? Like you have to take away something. And when you take away something, you give up something usually. And so to me, if I'm Miami, I gotta make everybody else besides Brunson make threes. I gotta make RJ make a lot of threes. I gotta make Hart make a lot of threes. If they play McBride, I got to make McBride make a lot of threes. I got to make Randle make a lot of threes, and so, especially when I'm small, as Miami is, and Miami, you can't play a ton of man, because any breakdown, that means Bam's coming over, Bam's challenging at the rim. It's probably a foul on Bam, and he's in foul trouble. So I'm guessing Miami plays a lot of zone. They'll play a ton of zone, and just make New York make as many perimeter shots as humanly possible. But I cannot see them just kind of letting Jalen run 50 pick and rolls in this series and just get downhill 20 times and live with the results. I don't think they're going to do that.
We'll see a defensive clinic from Spo, absolutely, in terms of they did throw zone throughout the last season or two, and they do trap really aggressively.
Right.
They have done that in the past. So, make the Knicks make threes. With that said, DA, RJ Barrett is on a hot tear recently, 3 games now. Polarizing player for the Knicks. Have you seen his playoff so far and his factor in this series?
I thought, I don't know if you guys saw it, Freddie Katz at The Athletic wrote a really smart piece on Friday about how RJ Barrett, it's not that he's taking better shots. It's the decisions he's making about taking shots that has improved significantly.
Yeah.
So he's not going kind of pell-mell into a triple team and throwing stuff up. If he sees there's 2 on him, he moves the ball, to the next open guy. And that sounds like a little thing, but it really is a big thing, because guys, every player in this league thinks they're the best player in the league. You know what I mean? Like all 450 of them think I'm the guy, I'm the man, right? And so they all think I can beat a double team. That's not hard, and so, but you can't most of the time unless you're Giannis or somebody that good, and it's really hard to beat double teams in this league. So for RJ to be more kind of selective about how when and where he shoots is a big, big deal, I think, for this Knicks team. So we will see if he can do that against a defense. Now, this is going to sound weird because Cleveland was a top 5 defense all year, but they never sped the Knicks up. And usually great defenses speed up offenses.
Yeah.
Because they make people make decisions faster and less intelligently than they normally do. And they never sped the Knicks up. The Knicks always played the pace they wanted to play at. They didn't rush shots. I will be curious to see, to your point, like you said, Miami traps, and they do. If Miami can speed the Knicks up and make them make decisions faster, and if that, how much that will be impacted, and under that kind of pressure, does a still young player like RJ Barrett still make good basketball decisions? And it's the second round, and now you're thinking we can win. If we win this round, we're in the conference finals. So the pressure increases, right?
Huge.
And so all of those things ratchet up. Everything ratchets up. So can Miami speed New York up the way I think they sped Milwaukee up? They made Milwaukee react faster than they probably wanted to, and that led to a lot of mistakes, a lot of mental errors that Milwaukee made that allowed them or contributed to them blowing double-digit leads in the second half and in the fourth quarter in 2 games in a row. So I'll be very curious to see if that comes to fruition or if the Knicks can kind of still play the way they want to play, which is, I think, more kind of a deliberate pace. They'll run when they can, but I don't think they're looking to get out and, kill people on the fast break, even though they were good against Cleveland. I think they're better more methodically. And again, with their size advantage, they should be able to do some things later in the shot clock than maybe they would normally.
Absolutely. EJ.
Quick question.
Yeah.
In terms of the Miami perspective, because here on Knicks Buzz, we try to look at it from multiple perspectives. Can the Heat win this series if playoff Jimmy isn't playoff round 1 level Jimmy Butler? If he's just regular Jimmy Butler and not what he seemed to be otherworldly the first round against Milwaukee?
Probably not. But he can do that. He's done it multiple times the last few years, in the bubble also for Miami. He's capable of doing this for 2 or 3 rounds. So yeah, that's not beyond his skill set. So if he gets minimal help, that's Strus doesn't have to score 30. He did in one of the games against Milwaukee, but he doesn't have to. Minimal help from the rest of their players. They're a dangerous team. Like Miami's always dangerous just because of the way they play and their intestinal fortitude and their toughness, and they don't back down from a fight. They don't get scrambled if they're down 12 in the first half of a game. They never panic. And so. But I think to beat a team that's playing well like New York, I think they're going to have to have Jimmy Butler play at that kind of level. Doesn't mean 56, but 30 plus points a game, putting all kinds of pressure on defenses, getting to the line a bunch of times. I think people really underestimate how important free throws are in the playoffs. Free throws stop the clock and they let you set up your defense. Those are incredibly important things in the playoffs. And if you shoot a high percentage from the foul line, all to the good, even better. But even though, like Giannis was terrible shooting from the line, but it would have been better for Milwaukee if he hadn't been bad, but he shot 17 free throws. That's huge in a playoff game. It's a massive important thing for a team to be able to do. And Jimmy can do that. He's like DeMar DeRozan, like all the great players that can draw fouls. He's a master at it. And that helps Miami so much at the defensive end. When they're not scrambling and trying to cross match and do all those things that you have to do in transition, they're a much better defensive team. And so his ability to do that is going to be important. And it's going to be important. And you guys, Thibs, high hands, defend without fouling. That's his mantra. Can they defend Jimmy Butler without fouling? That's going to be fascinating to me.
It is. Yeah. It's going to be really fascinating. EJ has to duck out, DA, but EJ, do you want to say something before you get out of here?
Oh, listen, CT knows this. David Aldridge, I love to throw flowers at legends,
Oh man.
and I hate to put you on the spot, but you are an absolute legend. Growing up from a West Indian immigrant background with my parents who refused to get cable television because they were like, we're not going to pay for this. But then when we finally got it, and I remember watching ESPN and just having these moments of seeing representation, which really does matter. And you and Stuart Scott
Yeah.
are people who allowed me to see the possibilities of what I could be. And to now share a space with you is incredible. Thank you so much for giving so many New Yorkers, so many Knicks fans, so many NBA fans the opportunity to see their favorite team on national television and to be covered for SportsCenter. I remember just being so excited when there would be like 5 minutes of NBA coverage and they would throw to you, and it would just be so amazing to watch you discuss my favorite team throughout the 90s, through the highs and lows, through the tongue wagging of Michael Jordan, through the choke sign of Reggie Miller, and even that frustrating time where the Knicks traded away my favorite player, Patrick Ewing. But thank you for always being such a consummate professional. Thank you for continuing to do the work that you do, and a prolific, amazing writer, and just showing how amazing of a talent you are to be doing it on screen, to doing it in terms of reporting and including writing. So thank you for so much for sharing your time with us. It's amazing to share this stage with you.
Well,
thank you so much again.
EJ, thank you very much. Those are very, very kind words, and I genuinely appreciate them from you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. CT, my friend. Knicks Buzz, we're going to keep on going. Thank you very much, everyone.
Yeah, appreciate you, EJ. And you've got time, David, a couple more.
Sure.
Just that you hit that word Thibs, and I think he is the underrated element because he's been very polarized. But adjustments, Thibs made some adjustments that
He did.
we hadn't really seen throughout the season, such as leaving Randle on the bench. I think it's going to be the biggest factor could be Spo versus Thibs, but I like that where Thibs, is at. He has the pulse of his team right now. How do you see that battle?
Oh yeah, I agree with you. It's going to be great watching. I think two of the best coaches in the league really kind of going at each other and making adjustments on the fly again, and kind of just, I would never presume to know what it's like to coach in the NBA.
Yeah.
But they make it. They are really good at knowing how their team is, in a given game, in a given series. And knowing, okay, I may have to de-emphasize this and overemphasize that in order to kind of get the optimal results, right? So, yeah, I think Spo is much more comfortable kind of changing on the fly and saying, we're just going to completely junk what we were thinking about doing. Whereas Thibs is just like, well, just do it harder or do it better, like what I'm asking you to do. That's kind of his fallback. But it works for them, so they do it harder. They do it better. So at least this year they've responded to that. So it's going to be great watching, these two guys really kind of go operate and figure it out. And the history of these two teams going at each other just makes the theater even better. Great venues. I was in the Garden last week for 3 and 4.
Yeah.
It was just spectacular and wonderful. And the Heat fans, I would never say they're the best fans in the NBA, but they understand playoff basketball. They get into it when it's important, so they make their presence felt. It's going to be great. It's going to be a really wonderful series.
Yeah, that's a big element you mentioned. I was going to say the MSG versus Miami. Knicks fans love to travel. They show up in Florida as well. I'm sure they snatched some tickets up.
That's
going to be a big factor. I honestly think the home court advantage, DA, for the Knicks was just so much for Cleveland to overcome. And I want to give credit to Cleveland's fans in their building. They can get loud.
Yes.
But people like Jared Allen were saying quotes like it was just on another level. We thought we were prepared, but we weren't. And you were there, right?
Nothing
how
like
loud?
There's just nothing like MSG. There's nothing like it when in the playoffs. And I go back to the 90s, into the 80s, when the team's good and they're legit good. I think it's the best venue in the league. I just do. I mean, I would say the old Chicago Stadium was better, but it's not there anymore. So the MSG crowd is just, it's not just their knowledge, which is obvious. Everybody knows they know the game, but fans in Boston know the game too. That's not it. It's just their incredible passion from minute one. They don't have to be prompted to do anything. They understand moment, time, noise, and it really was something watching. It just drew me back to those Bulls series, which were some of the most titanic series I've ever covered in the league back in the day. And just the passion, the ardor, the visceral, hatred of the Bulls, which I like. That's what I miss about the league now. There's not enough hatred in the NBA anymore.
Reggie.
Yeah, there's just not enough of it. That's legit stuff. Like Reggie is legitimately saying, "You guys are choking." Like that's sounds great, and I miss that. I miss that.
Probably get teed up now.
Yeah, exactly. You get teed up if you did that now. That's right. And it was like that. Whether it was and it went from series to series. That was why it was real, as I try to explain to people. So whether it was the Pistons playing the Bulls, or the Pistons playing the Celtics, or the Celtics playing the Bulls, or the Bulls playing the Knicks, or the Knicks playing the Pacers, they all hated each other. Like they really hated each other and wanted to beat each other. And that's what made it great.
I think we're set up for a fantastic semifinals with Philly, Boston, Miami, the Knicks. And you mentioned, traditionally two teams that haven't changed, Boston and the Knicks. It might be prediction time, DA. Do you have prediction for us? How far can the Knicks go? How do you see this series playing out?
I think, well, I mean, I honestly think this series to me is a toss-up. It really is. I mean, I think, and I am not in any way trying to disparage the Knicks. I just think Miami's on a heater right now, and that's no pun intended. They're just, I've seen them when they play like this. And when they play like this, they keep playing like this. You know what I mean? And so you have to really be at the top of your game to beat them when they're playing like this. And I think Jimmy Butler gives them hope, man. They get something from him, like a belief out of him that I think can carry a team a long way. Now, having said that, I think the Knicks are on a bit of a heater too, right? So I think the fact that it's in New York, that the Knicks have home court is going to matter at some point in this series. It might be game 5. Yes. It may not be game 7. It might be game 5. It might be game 2. Yeah. I don't know. But I think it's going to matter at some point in the series. And so I'm going to give New York a slight edge going in. I'll pick New York to win in 7 games. And I think Boston wins the other series just because I don't think Embiid's anywhere close to 100%. And if he was 100%, I would pick Philly. But he's not. So I'm picking Boston. Okay. That's how good Embiid. That's how important Embiid is to the 76ers. I mean, you can't beat a team as good as Boston without somebody like Embiid on your side. And when he's at his, he gave him 50 at the end of the season, so he can destroy them. But he's not 100%, and I don't think he's going to be anywhere close to 100% in the series. And go out there, he'll play. He may have 2 or 3 good games, but I just think Boston they're so good. I just think Boston's really good, and they're, they'll beat a not 100% Sixers team. And so I guess that means Boston, New York, the Acela series,
the depth,
which is great for me.
Yeah, you love it being in the middle.
Awesome.
Especially with the storyline of what did you think of Brogdon winning 6-man over Quickly?
Well, I voted for Brogdon. I don't think I'm telling any tales out of school. I thought Brogdon was terrific. Quickly, look, Emmanuel was great. Quickly was great. He's not. I'm not. Again, I know people are fans. I get it. It doesn't mean I hate Emmanuel Quickly because I voted for Brogdon. That's not. No, I got to pick one. They're both good. I picked one guy. I could have picked the other guy. I picked this guy. It doesn't mean I hate your guy. I just thought Brogdon was sensational this year. For he was exactly what they thought he would be for Boston. And played at an incredibly high level. What is he, like 95 from the line or whatever? He shoots something insane. Crazy. So I just thought he was sensational. And so, that will be if it winds up Boston, New York, that will be a great matchup. Great.
Right.
2 of the top 6 men in the league. Absolutely. They'll be fun to watch.
party like it's 1999 is the theme. We have the 8 seed beating the 1st seed, Knicks Heat.
Right.
Maybe
Exactly.
Knicks back in the ECF.
Hopefully there's no brawls this time. Well, actually, those were kind of fun.
They were, but they're in the past now. I think. Well, Knicks fans for right now, we want our ball to do the talking.
Right. You don't want. Well, I guess it's Joe Dumars now. You don't want Joe Dumars deciding who wins this series, right? So I get that for sure.
Although I could see a meltdown from Julius Randle at some point. In terms of mentally.
I hope he's. I hope this time off can let that ankle calm down a little bit, and that we get full Julius, because you hate. The playoffs are really about attrition more than anything else, and it's almost always the healthier team that wins. It's not always the best team. It's almost always, though, the healthiest team that wins, right? So, or the healthier team that wins. So that's why, again, I think Boston will win that series. So I hope Julius is close to 100%, so we can have a really great 7-game series.
Yeah, it's an absolute marathon, like you said, and the big man battle, DA, is going to be huge with. I think Mitchell Robinson's going to get a bigger test with Bam.
Sure. Yes.
Able to, bigger body, mobile. It's going to be interesting to see how they deploy him.
Yeah, I mean, Bam can do more things. Bam can step out. Now, he's not going to make a living shooting from the perimeter, but he can make that shot. He's got a little floater that he does. There's different ways that he scores. He's not a post-up guy, really. You know what I mean? He's more of a face-the-basket kind of big. So that's going to be a challenge for Mitchell. And Mitchell has avoided foul trouble, but it was an issue in the past, right? And so Bam's going to come at him, no question. And we're going to see, if he can maintain the discipline necessary to defend without fouling. And again, as the pressure gets ratcheted and as you get sped up, it gets harder to be disciplined, and you have to continue to be disciplined in that vein. And Miami. The advantage I think New York has in this series is that Miami just they don't have 2 or 3 bigs like Cleveland did that they can just keep throwing at Robinson. They got one basically, now Kevin Love will help, Love being there will help. But again, Kevin's at this stage of his career, he's a perimeter guy. He's going to space the floor and shoot threes. And so I expect that whenever Kevin's on the floor, I doubt Mitchell's going to be the guy going out there to try and guard him. You're going to put Randle out there on him. There's different guys that they can cross match and put out on Love to keep Mitchell from having to step out there and try to guard him in space, because I don't think that's a winning thing for New York. So they'll cross match, like I said, and get different guys on him. So that can be an advantage, I think, for the Knicks. But there's also the challenge of how does he defend Adebayo, because Bam is a load and Bam's quick and he can draw fouls. That's going to be a big part of this.
Yeah, they might use some Randle. We'll see. But I love what you spelled out in terms
maybe
of the
even
discipline.
Barrett. I mean, if you go small, I mean, there's different things that they could do. There's different strategies and different personnel groups that they could use against him. But I just don't think it's a winner to put Mitchell out on an island trying to guard Love out there. I don't think that's going to work very well.
Yeah, well, we know Thibs would have been planning. Well, he said in his last conference that they were planning for Milwaukee or Miami already. You don't wait to see which opponent it is.
Oh,
You've
sure.
already got,
You've
got 2
that's
plans
absolutely
in
right.
action.
Sure, they're advanced scouts. One of them will do Miami, one of them will do Milwaukee, and then you just grab the guy that did Miami, and say, okay, show us your stuff, and he has complete breakdown. So that's not like they're not like fans who go, well, it's gonna be Milwaukee. That's an easy one to pick. No, you got to prepare for everything. I remember Spoelstra told me this story when he was first starting out. He was a advanced scout and doing that stuff.
Yeah.
And he said they spent, I think he said something like 76 straight hours doing first round, because they didn't know who they were going to play. So it was literally like 6 teams that they could have played in the first round. So they had to have all of them. And he said we did like 2.5 days just in this room with no window, just breaking down tape for all of these potential first round opponents that they were going to have that year. And that's what you got to do. That's what everybody does in the playoffs.
Yeah, well, I always shout out the unsung heroes, which are them, the developmental coaches, assistant coaches.
Absolutely.
We talked about RJ Barrett, his trainer apparently came into town after game 2 and got with him and got him right. And
Yeah,
Johnny Bryant has been getting a lot of praise with.
absolutely. Johnny's one of the best. Johnny's terrific. And yeah, I mean, guys like that, they're worth their weight in gold because the players believe them. The players trust them. And
Mm,
so the smart organizations understand that, and instead of saying, "Well, wait a minute, you're not a, you're not a team employee," they bring them in. Come on, we got plenty of room. If this makes my player more confident, then that's a good thing. So it doesn't make me any less of a coach if I let him work out with his personal coach or his trainer or whatever. If that makes him better, you know, who's the most important guy to LeBron James? Mike Mancias. It's been that way for 20 years, almost. Like you got to know stuff. You have to be secure enough to understand that he's going to listen to Mike if Mike says something to him. That's just the way it is, And so successful teams understand that.
yeah, comfortability in such a tough environment like the playoffs, to get with a support network like your family, all these
Yeah.
people behind the scenes. Salute to them for all the great work they're doing. And speaking of great work, DA, the Athletic been amazing covering all season, hosting the Athletic NBA show as
Yeah.
well. So much more playoff buzz to come. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you, talk Knicks Heat.
Oh, CT, it's my pleasure, man. Thank you for having me. It's always fun doing this.
Mhm.
Like I said, I told you guys before, when we had Chuck on and he sang your praises. So I was like, then that's good enough for me. Let's do it. And anytime you guys want to have me on again, that'd be my pleasure.
Yeah, appreciate you, man. Have a great afternoon and enjoy the series. And let's hope, like you said, Knicks in 5, hopefully, but Knicks in 7. I'll take
Nixon,
it.
whatever, right? That's the important thing this time of year. 5, 6, 12, doesn't matter. Like
3. Did you
five in
see the
advance. That's what
the
this is
Knicks
all
on the
about now.
streets? There was
Yeah.
dudes saying Knicks in 3.
That would be a feat.
Oh, yep. All right, enjoy. Thanks,
All right,
DA.
Jim. My pleasure. Good
Appreciate you.
talking to
Be
you.
well.
Thank you. You
Peace.
too.
Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, David Aldridge, kind enough to join us right on the streets of buzzing, doing amazing work with the Athletic in DC, and hosting, like I said, the Athletic NBA show. EJ came in, man, absolutely buzzing right now. This series has turned around fast, getting into Eastern Conference semifinals mode here, and not 199 reasons to get ready for this thing. It's going to be a war. It's going to be a battle. Appreciate all the comments through the chat talking about respecting the Heat. We know this team all too well. As much as I love to say the Knicks in 4, Knicks and gentlemen sweet. I was going back and forth with my prediction, and I'm going to bring it up on screen officially. My prediction is the same as the series one, round one. I got Knicks in 6. I was thinking, Knicks in 5. I was thinking very, very carefully about it, but I'm thinking, the Julius Randle situation. You know, how do we do on the road against, in the Heat? And also Thibs and Spo, and his ability to coach well. Eric Spoelstra, champions like Kyle Lowry, Kevin Love on the team. They may not have much left, but I think they're going to give it all that they can. They'll be riding high, also like we were in 1999. Having knocked the head off of the number 1 seed. Right, that's got to have you feeling good. You don't just knock off Giannis and the Bucks and not go into the second round full of confidence. But we're full of confidence. The New York Knicks are riding high off RJ Barrett's, huge last 3 games in this playoff series. I mentioned the DA, like, his coach getting with him, getting comfortable, being more patient, composed on the court, selecting the right shots. And I think our assists got up the last game, 21 assists. I think the Knicks know ball movement is going to be key, but we know Jalen Brunson, can take over, when he needs to take over. Now, I got the 4 regular season games against the Heat on screen. You see the Knicks won 3 games to 1, which is why I still got the Knicks with the edge with this situation. It was a close game 1, 104 or 106. Then the Knicks won another close one, 122 to 120. Then the Knicks came back 127 to 120. And then the Knicks won comfortably in the last one, 101-92. We know Julius Randle. I think that game in Miami with the buzzer beater for Juju was a lucky game. You know, we all saw that game, and we know that Julius Randle, that final play was indicative of the Knicks season. You know, it was a situation where Julius was going up and down in that final possession, turned the ball over, second to last. Tyler Hero got the layup. We went back up. Brunson brought the ball up the floor, and Julius got the final shot. You know, it was a remarkable shot. It went in, but I think the Knicks got lucky that game. So this season series could have easily been 2-2. It was 3-1, but I think we're in a better position now than we were, which is huge. The chat, give us your predictions, man. I'm going Knicks in 6 for this one. Also, like DA spelled out, we cannot forget about home court. You know, we did not have home court in round 1, although we did win it back in game 1. But this time we come into MSG, vibes feeling immaculate, the streets are buzzing, and ready to get into it big time. I think the crowd, the energy in the city is like none other, man. We have to take everyone back to 1999 when the Knicks were feeling this good. And we got all-stars snubbed. We got all NBA caliber dudes. We got all defensive caliber dudes balling out. We got the real six man, in my opinion. Respect DA's opinion, and obviously Brogdon won it. But I think, Emmanuel quickly was very, very deserving, and he's feeling motivated. I think IQ is going to have a really big series, and I think the depth we can throw at Miami is going to be big this series. So, chat, what do you say? What do you say? Knicks in 5, 6. Salute Allah Wise. I'm bringing back my broomsticks for Miami. Yeah. You know how physical they're going to try to make this series, try to jerk us down, knowing that we got more soldiers, more depth. They are going to try to make this thing a battle physically. I think Bam Adebayo is going to be a huge factor with Mitch. I think this is a situation where Mitch is really going to take his game to the next level. Right, everyone out here in the chat listening, replay gang, salute. If everyone was impressed by Mitchell's first round, I think if he can dominate and do really well against Bam, that's gonna create his legacy even further as Mitch first round playoff series stepping up. We know he missed the ATL series 2 years ago, and there was so many question marks over Mitch and how he would fare in the playoffs. But I do think now he's silenced any doubt. Yep. I won't lie, Knicks can go to the conference finals. Got Knicks in 6. Yep. You agreeing with me? Yep. Beneath, salute. Killer says quickly, definitely one of the biggest keys to us winning. Yeah, I think him, RJ. Let's not forget about Quentin Grimes. We haven't heard too much updates yet on Quentin, but I think he's going to be good to go at some point in this series. Provided the information's correct. And it was a contusion. I think they're nursing him. To being ready, and I think he's going to be another factor in this series. Max Strauss, Kyle Lowry can stroke it. Duncan Robinson, JJ, salute. Miami has some good 3-point shooters. We got to try staying attached to those guys. Yeah, I think we will. I think our defense is going to feel more comfortable. We're gelling right now at the right period, the right time, right place, right streets. I think 1999 all over again. We know in sports you can catch lightning in a bottle. That's just how it is. The Heat made the finals in the bubble. They and then they missed out on the playoffs the next season. They caught ultimate lightning. J Dub says he thinks Mitch and Bam cancel each other out. I feel that our bench swarms the Heat. Yep, I like to feel that too, man. We can smell blood in the water, especially if RJ is eaten with the bench unit. That's an underrated fact as well. I think they're going to have to run Jimmy with the bench unit a lot, or someone in that starting unit with the bench to avoid a total blowout. And if RJ Grimes run with the bench unit, Josh Hart, I think, yeah, the Knicks look good on paper, man. I can't go past the Knicks in 6 in this one. Also, let's see how the Boston and Philly series do. Keep our eye on that. Give me your prediction. I think DA was going to go with Philly if Embiid was healthy, but Boston's the favorite in that matchup. They look really good closing it out last night in ATL. So I really hope Boston do get through. I think that's another nice matchup for the New York Knicks. How far can the Knicks go all the way? I think this is our year. I think we can really go all the way now. Really, when you think about it, how well Jalen Brunson's playing. He's playing like an MVP caliber guy. Like Fox Sports, I think Doug Gottlieb been talking about it. He was one of the first dudes on Twitter to put out there throughout the regular season that JB deserves MVP, the real MVP consideration, because he's just completely changed our team. He feels like a god out there on the court. You know, he can get to wherever he likes. He can get a shot wherever he needs, and then he can kick the ball away. He's a tough shot maker. One of the most clutch players in the NBA. He hits his free throws. He can draw fouls. I mean, you guys tell me, what is there anything that JB cannot do? Really? And Knicks in 2, man. Buzzer beat. I feel the energy, but definitely we've got to respect the opponent. Let's not look past them, because we don't want to lose game 1 or game 2, right? We want to put our feet on their neck, and we want to seal the deal. We want to seal the deal as early as possible, man. Get some nice rest, get some New York pizza, and chill for ECF, Eastern Conference Finals, 1999 all over again with this situation. Well, what are your thoughts on game 1, Sunday, 1 p.m. matinee game? NBA cashing in on those ratings, which is going to be huge. It's going to be one of the most watched second round playoff openers, I feel, in history. J-Dub's got Boston as well over the Sixers. Yep, they're too deep. You know, I was going to say to DA also, I think the time is now for Philly. The desperation is setting in. You know, Joel Embiid, you know, overcoming knee injuries. We have James Harden. Talk about him possibly exploring the Rockets as well. Tyrese Maxey coming up, ready to take on the next mantle. I think, yeah, Philly's time is right now. Tobias Harris, you know, haven't accomplished, you know, a championship there yet. And I think Philly's hungry. That's going to be a battle. Hopefully that goes 6 or 7, and hopefully we can be done in 5. So, yeah, we talked about the edge the Knicks have with the bench unit. What are your thoughts about Josh Hart starting? With the starting unit, we know Josh Hart's a dog. He said it from day one, but he likes to come off. He likes to start, come off the bench, play 48 minutes. It don't matter what. And those sound bites, you know, from the coverage was amazing. You know, hearing him talk to Thibs, man, I'm ready to go 48. Put me out there, coach. Ready to do big things. Is Josh Hart another huge series ahead? He was built for this moment. You know, the 4th most active NBA player to never play a playoff game before this series and before last series, and he's ready now. You know, Josh Hart's so underrated. We've seen it now. You know, New Orleans, he was with the Lakers, the baby Lakers. He was with Portland. He was not getting enough shine with that situation. Now I feel him. I feel why he wanted the New York Knicks and this spotlight. You know, I don't think his game's been appreciated as much as it has been. Man, he does all the dirty work, rebounds, makes the huge pass, splashes the 3 ball when you need it, even hits a fadeaway circus shot when you need it. He had as big of a series in round 1 than I could possibly have imagined. Everything we needed, Josh Hart provided. He provided. And like I said, it was a big 3 when we needed it. It was a lockdown stop. It was a flying from the rafters rebound. Man, it was crazy with that. Appreciate you, Scott. Let's go. Yep, the streets are buzzing. We got the best chat in the biz, the best fan base in the biz as well. It's a pleasure to talk to these guests, talk to the chat, and celebrate with Knicks Nation. We here. Let's stay humble. We got some opposing fans in the chat. Tell us your thoughts. Keep it respectful, but let's keep this thing buzzing because we're in the second round of the playoffs, man. The NBA is where it really should be. We got Philly, we got Boston, we got Miami, and we got the New York Knicks, and we got the Chicago Bulls eliminated. We got Atlanta eliminated. We got Toronto not here, firing coaches, right? How the tables have turned on this thing right now. We're heading into a new era for Knicks fans, and I'm happy for the younger fans. I'm happy even more for us old heads as well, OGs, diehards from the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, and it's crazy. We've been through so many ups and downs. We lost the late great legend Willis Reed not too long ago, and also thoughts to his family and friends and everyone. But this situation, it just feels like something's happening this season in terms of the Knicks now unexpectedly the underdogs, but making waves. It was a very up and down regular season, but after the Josh Hart acquisition, I think this is a different team. We got Jay Gaming saying Heat in 5. Heat defeated the number 1 seed, so Heat in 5. Yeah, I do hear a lot of people use that analogy as well. They'll be confident. They beat Milwaukee. Credit to them. I'm not going to sit here and say the Knicks would have knocked out Milwaukee. We don't know, but it was a great matchup. I think they've got a guy like Bam Adebayo, who's a good matchup for Giannis. And I was going to ask DA about Mike Budenholzer. He did not coach a very good series. I think towards the end there, I think like some players were saying, they were looking past the Miami Heat, looking for a championship. And I do think that they weren't respecting the Miami Heat. So that's what happens. You don't respect your opponent, you get punched in the mouth. And I want the New York Knicks to come out guns blazing, which they will. The Mecca will be buzzing. DA said it himself. Ladies and gentlemen, again, the one and only. DA said that the MSG, the Mecca, is the best place to watch NBA basketball period, the best fans, and I think it's going to be electric. We're going to see, scenes a la 1999, Larry Johnson's 4-point play, huge scenes with Patrick Ewing's tip jam, Latrell Sprewell bouncing up and down, firing up the crowd like 1999. But yeah, Jimmy Buckets, salute to him. How much does he have left in the tank? You guys tell me. He's carrying that team like a truck right now. He's carrying them. Now with Tyler Hero, I could see this series going 7, but I do think it's going to be wrap in 6, Knicks in 6. What are your thoughts on that? I think the Knicks are also just as confident as the Bucks, as the Heat would be beating the Bucks. And I do think that we haven't seen the best of these Knicks. That's the biggest thing, when we talk about it, man. How many gears do the Knicks have that they could go to? I think I mentioned Tom Thibodeau with DA, talking to him about the Spo-Thibs matchups. I think that's going to be the number 1 element in this series. Tom Thibodeau having to make adjustment because we know Spo's going to force an adjustment. He's going to go small. He's going to zone. He's going to trap. He's going to do all those things. He's going to deploy Jimmy Butler off the ball, so he's not being too tired. Kyle Lowry is going to be a huge factor in this series. How much legs has he got left? But I just think, without Hero, without Oladipo, prayers up to him. I do think that the Heat, the longer the series goes, the Heat are just going to run out of gas. as well. And of course, if the Knicks can steal one in Miami, where the Knicks fans, turn up, it's going to be a wrap with that. We just got to protect home. Yeah. Yeah. Let's reminisce. Killer says Spree and Houston, H2O. If we did not lose Ewing that year, we would have won. Yeah. What would have been with that? But we creating new waves, we creating new legacies with this team, with RJ Barrett, with Randle, with Brunson, with Mitchell Robinson now, the hero. Just so many heroes talking about this series. It's just great to be back where we belong. The New York Knicks need to be deep in the playoffs every year, each and every year. Keep it buzzing. You guys throw out any questions you got. What's the big matchup you're looking at? DA was talking about really what Spo's number one aim is to try to slow Jalen Brunson down. How do they do that? You don't want to get Jimmy Butler in foul trouble. Can Kyle Lowry hang? I think they're just going to have to do it by numbers. That's the only way I see. I think they're going to have to trap him aggressively from time to time, throw the zone, just try to throw the Knicks off rhythm. But if Quentin gets healthy, that's another body, another defender that the Knicks can throw out there, another body on Jimmy. And on the flip side, the Knicks are going to throw multiple bodies at Jimmy and make someone else beat us. Which, if I'm Thibs, that's the way you've got to go. You got to make sure someone else beats you. I think Milwaukee allowed Jimmy Butler, kind of allowed him to beat them. And I do think Thibs can't make that mistake. We know Jimmy's capable. He's going to go off for 40, 50, 60. If you do one-on-one coverage, Barrett versus Jimmy is going to be a great new age versus old age coming through. I think that's going to be a great challenge. I think Josh Hart is probably most likely to take on that challenge initially, and then we'll see how Quentin Grimes can do on that. Like Scott says, Knicks got 3 good defenders on the perimeter. Bucks had Drew, only Middleton. Yet played hurt. Yeah, indeed. It's all about the bodies. Yep. Dara salute. ECF to the F to the C. Yep. Feeling good. Feeling good vibes here. Queen's Place salute. Most of the Knicks are solid defensively, and they on point with the communication, playing good D. Yeah, you're on point. You mentioned that with Mitch, also talking about his talking with Mitch in the presser about anchoring. Derrick Rose giving him words of advice, talking about anchoring the D, which is huge for that. Now we got some news. We got Jericho Sims done for the season now. Prayers up to him. Sounds like it's the right option to get surgery early so he can be ready for the summer and ready for preseason. But I'm kind of disappointed. I think we might have needed Jericho Sims later in the playoffs. At some point, we do got two excellent big men, but the more depth, the better. So I can only assume that Jericho really, really needed the surgery and just couldn't go. It just couldn't go. Salute Jarvis. Yep. If anyone jumping in, appreciate you again. Smashing that like button for the streets of buzzing. And David Aldridge coming through with EJ talking about this series. Right, it's only 1.5 days away, and it's a quick turnaround in a way. But we got to be ready. We got to be ready to win game 1. We cannot lapse with this situation. I think the Knicks Boston, it was written, in the words of Nas, it was written with Boston Knicks for the ECF. I think the 2 original NBA teams to never relocate and never change. That's going to be amazing. The Knicks also had the wood on the C's this season. I think 3-1, and I won the double overtime classic in Boston. So the Knicks feel comfortable. The Knicks feel comfortable with that, in terms of winning on the road. Yeah. What's good, Cassandra? Salute. Queen's Place is in Far Rock. Nice vibes here. A salute. I know you guys be dapping up other Knick fans when you see them on the streets as well, on the chats. You know, be respectful, polite, loving to everyone out here. We're enjoying ourselves. We haven't been here in a minute, but something tells me we're going to be here for a long, long, long time with this situation buzzing. Yeah, MJ's son is a problem, aka Jimmy. A lot of credit to Jimmy, you know. I mean, he does turn it on in the playoffs. You know, I know he ain't talking much about is there a thing with playoff Jimmy? There is, no doubt. You know, the focus goes to another level. I think that's what you saw with the legends, the greats, Kobe Bryant, Allen Iverson. Just the certain focus in the playoffs takes you to another level, and that elevates your team. You know, it elevates your teammates, elevates your coach, just elevates the crowd, elevates everything. That's something you can respect, you know, as a baller, you know, real respect, real in terms of what Jimmy's doing. And, you know, the Knicks aren't in this situation in terms of facing Miami if they don't knock off Milwaukee, the number 1 seed. So we got to take this thing seriously, but I think we do it. Yes, sir. We got playoff RJ.
Shout out to CT for keeping the streets buzzing, keeping everyone abreast of all that Knick news.
That's right, man. Playoff RJ, got the MSG crowd, the MSG footage, the MSG crew fired up for this series, man. It's going to be great. Everyone gets another series to flash their game. Content creators alike, Knicks chat, Knicks streets, everyone here. We're in rare air, like I keep saying, and we got to lap this up, drink it up. I think, yeah, the Knicks were eaten throughout the regular season against Miami. So that's a big thing. You know, how much does Spoelstra look at these 4 games? How much does he change anything? You know, sometimes being without players allows you to change and just try something brand new. You know, so to the average fan, we look at like, oh, they don't have Tyler Hero, they don't have Oladipo. You know, sometimes that can force a change where they play a different style, they play a different way, or the next guy steps up. You know, so you got to be weary of that. You know, the Knicks were dangerous because it was next man up mentality. Deuce McBride stepped in when the Knicks needed. Who else stepped up? Came in Jericho Sims, stepped up when we needed. You know, I know we didn't see much of Derrick Rose this season, but I'm sure he would have been ready to come in if we needed. So yeah, you got to be weary of the next dude to step up. Now there's a couple dudes I'm not quite familiar with their game with Miami, and I'm sure we will get to see some of these guys stepping in. You know, the Miami Heat have that culture where it's all about kind of similar, next man up. You know, be ready when your number is called, or you may not get another chance. And of course, Jimmy Butler is going to be in the ears and face of all those players. You know, he kind of gets possessed. Yeah. Yeah, Lion of Judah, salute. Appreciate you. Let's go. Yep. The Heat got a gift, says Duras. Yep. Let's go. Everyone out here buzzing. Salute Richard D. Cool in the house. Let's keep it respectful in the chat. And let's get ready. Let's get ready for game 1. I'm expecting the Knicks to win this one. I think the game 1, like we always say, is a filling out game. I do think it's going to be close. It's probably going to be one of the closest games of the series. I'm expecting Julius Randle to play. I am. I think today, tonight, tomorrow, and another half day, he's going to be a game time decision, no doubt. So expect that to be questionable. You know, Eastern Conference semis, first round, first game, right? I don't think he's going to want to skip this one unless the ankle just cannot take any weight. So Julius is a warrior. He's going to be ready. Quentin Grimes might be a dude that they sit on for another game or two. But let's see. I'm expecting Julius to start. I'm expecting Josh Hart to start and get that challenge on Jimmy Butler. And I do think that's going to be another huge key in terms of the Knicks winning the series. We know how important it is to steal game one, like the Knicks did in Cleveland, and we're not intimidated. The Knicks can go into any building. We won in Boston. We won in Miami. I think we won in Denver this season as well. So the Knicks have broken the shackles off a lot of these streaks that they've had. And I do think, MSG, now our home play has stepped up, and the home play is going to be what carries the Knicks the home court advantage, to get us this trip to the ECF, which is going to be a magical run. And a salute to everyone in the chat rocking out. Enjoy the West. I'm really enjoying the West and just the playoffs in general. Now I think the Lakers are going to be dangerous if they can get past the Grizz. Let's see. And then of course we have Denver and Phoenix. I'm so looking forward to that matchup. Give me your predictions on the Phoenix v Denver. And then of course we do have the Warriors, potentially, getting through with that situation as well. We've got the Warriors possibly closing it out. The Warriors going back and forth. It's going to be open. I think whoever gets through the West, anyone that gets through the East can beat the West. I really do. I think it's wide open this year. The Kings Warriors game is critical. Golden State lead 3 games to 2, and of course the Lakers up 3 games to 2. Celtics closed the Hawks out in style. I think Trae Young gave it his best punch, but it just wasn't enough. Now, salute buzzer and chat. We may be on live tomorrow again with another guest. We'll keep you updated. Make sure you hit the notification bell so you'll always be active, ready to jump in when another surprise guest comes through. The streets are buzzing. I'll be covering the series all throughout the playoffs. More guests coming through. More buzz in the chat. But otherwise, it'll be post-game game 1, matinee, ready to get into it with a big New York Knicks win. And again, I'll go through my prediction on screen. Respecting the Heat, what they bring, I'm going to choose the Knicks in 6. I was thinking about 5, but I'm just going with 6 for this situation. I think, we may lose a game or here or there through lack of execution. Maybe Jimmy Butler takes over, but I think the Knicks will wrap it up in 6. Scott says need Grimes shooting, yet with that Heat zone, 100%. You said it. Yeah. I'm just feeling for Grimes, He's a big part of this thing. He's been the starting 2 guard all season, and I want to see him get some shine. We've seen RJ break out into the playoffs. We've seen Mitch break out. We've seen Quickly have a solid last game. Now we need to see Quentin Grimes healthy, and we're going to need him, like you said, man, with the zone. That is going to be big, 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 big. David's in the house. Let's go. Anyone going to any of the games, let us know. I think there's going to be a huge crowd in Miami. Knicks fans represent always. And of course, they'll be giving out those chants, trying to drown out the crowd. That's going to be key. The other thing, like I mentioned earlier, the 4 games on screen, I think we learned a lot, playing the Heat this year, and they did make the New York Knicks more tougher, ready for this challenge. In terms of, we saw different looks. We saw zone. We saw them trap. Bam Adebayo had a couple of big games as well. So we got to be wary. Tyler Hero did have a few big games as well. He hit the go-ahead bucket in the game where Julius, hit the game winner. So that's going to be big. But I do think, push comes to shove, we can throw more bodies at Jimmy. And we're going to have, I think the Heat are going to have to need a couple of 30-point games from Lowry, and a couple of 30-point games from Bam to overcome us. Max Strauss, solid player. I think Hart, Grimes, and Quickly can neutralize him. But like the chat said, we've got to stay attached to the shooters. So that's going to be big. And also I want to see what Spo, can do. This is going to be a coaching clinic from both sides. And Pat Riley, the New York Knicks rivalry, right? It's going to get chippy. It's going to get physical. It's going to be amazing. I cannot wait as we get ready, man. Game 1 is just around the corner. We get ready to wrap this show up, this live stream with the legend David Aldridge, The Athletic, covering the Wizards, the NBA. Like and subscribe, follow DA's work. Said the Mecca is the best place to play for playoff ball. Eastern Conference semifinals, the New York Knicks are here, right? Conference finals bound, possibly. I think so. I think the Knicks get it done in 6. I think Jalen Brunson's the star of this show, right? He's going to try to drown out this Jimmy Buckets buzz, I think. Jimmy Buckets what? I think Jalen Brunson came here for this moment. And I think, Quentin Grimes has got the shoulder contusion, but he's going to be good at some point this series. We got Julius Randle, a huge factor in this thing. Mitchell Robinson continue to pull rebounds from the sky. If he can neutralize Bam Adebayo, man, I tip my cap off to money-making Mitch, doing big things. Just like the chat, Knicks Nation doing big things. And I get ready. It's 1999 all over again. Except we've got more shot makers. We've got toughness. We've got the coach for the job. And I think it's going to be fun, man. This one's a wrap. Peace to everyone out here. Blessings. Have a great night. See you on the next one.